Peace.
Peace.
This is Joshua Law, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real to Real 360. K-Wise.
Peace, God.
Bring that beat in, kid.
Indeed.
Peace.
Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real to Real 360 show. Let's get it in.
We do the knowledge and wisdom so you can understand. Real to Real 360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to born. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy your show. Peace.
Peace and blessings. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? I be the God, DJ KY Zala, aka the Black Superhero. Welcome you to our second show of our season of the Real to Real 360. I'm so excited. We got a powerful show for you this afternoon. And without further ado, I got to bring up my dynamic co-host, none other than my brother in God, Joshua Allah, aka Mr. PhD himself. And before I bring them in, I want to say peace to the gods and earth. Allah's 5%, you know what I mean? And peace to all the human families on the planet Earth. Peace, God.
Peace. Today is going to be a very enlightening show. We have an organization that we're bringing onto the show that's going to help bridge a lot of understanding when it comes down to police, the necessary reasons why we should have community policing, and also learning self-defense and being able to take care of our own community and going forward. This individual right here that we're bringing on, I didn't realize this was part of her organization, but we grew up together, you know, and I've been knowing her about 20, 30 years, maybe a little more. I don't want to tell our age, but it's real enlightening to see individuals that you grow up with that's in the struggle and is ready to help save our peoples the best way that they can, whether it's being on the front line or being in a situation where we in the boardroom. And not even to slight this individual, because she's done plays, she's done a plethora of different things, but now she's part of the Black Justice Society, and she's teaching individuals self-defense and community policing. At this moment in time, I'd like to bring on High Octane of the Black Justice Society. Please. High Octane, how you doing today?
Take it down.
I am amazing. I just want to thank you and Joshua Allah and DJ KY's Allah for having me on your show, 360 Real to Real 360, and peace to the nation of gods and earths and everyone out there in the two-way community and the Black community and however you identify as a melanated person.
That's peace. I want to start off by letting the people get a little bit of history of the Black Justice Society from your understanding.
Okay, well, my name is High Octane. As you introduced me, I am the founder of the Black Justice Society. I'm also the commander-in-chief here, and also the founder of the Best of Black Two-Way Awards. The way that we got started was through another organization, actually one of the nation's biggest Black militias. I wanted to join an organization after I seen them on TV, on social media, surrounding the Ahmaud Arbery case. And I saw this really, really strong man, actually two very strong men talking very strong to the white establishment about justice for Ahmaud Arbery. And I said, I need to find those two men because that is something that I want to be a part of. So I'm here in Dallas and I found a local chapter so that I could participate. I really didn't want to carry firearms. I just wanted to go and lend my expertise, whether it be in business, whether it be in corporate, or whatever I could do. But the prerequisites for joining the organization was a firearm. Our commander was like, if you don't pick up a firearm, if you're not ready to get armed and stay on the front lines and risk your life for our community, for our people, then we don't need you. You can wait for the new nation. And I was like, I'm not waiting. I'm trying to be a part of this because this is historic and this is what I feel called to do. So I joined that organization and I went to Louisville, one for Breonna Taylor. We went up there twice for Breonna Taylor. We did a formation in Lafayette. And then we did a couple of formations in Texas and Killeen for various causes. But we had a situation where our organization decided to branch off because we had some very dire circumstance with our commander. So we broke off and we became the Black Justice Society to continue our work. While, you know, certain situations and circumstances were being addressed. And that was 1 year ago, a little over a year ago, that the Black Justice Society was formed.
Okay. At this point, with the Black Justice Society, can you explain how they involve themselves in community policing? And also, what do community policing actually mean?
Well, we involve ourselves in community policing in that we participate in some way or another each time that we do a formation or a maneuver with other organizations who tend to call themselves coalitions. We come together. It is a form of community policing. It's providing a presence so that people can see what it is for men, Black men and women to be armed. A lot of people have never seen Black men and women armed and all Black. And then to be able to go, that's pretty much like on a national level, but then to go into, or on a community level, to go into communities, Black Justice Society does do that. It's not necessarily the main thing that we do. We pretty much attach on to other self-defense units and go into communities where they have a presence. For example, I'm in Dallas. I'm new to Dallas, actually. Black Justice Society is headquartered here. However, I am new. So we're learning the community. Part of community policing is learning the community and being accepted into the community because people are not used to seeing Black armed so-called police in their neighborhood, and they have to get used to that. So there's a lot of things that go on in terms of attempting to provide a presence, an armed presence in the community.
Mm-hmm. Okay. With some, when you deploy or attach yourself to different organizations on these deployments, like you said, the Arbery case, the Breonna Taylor case, how do that networking happen? Do they reach out to you? Do we, you know what I'm saying? Do you reach out to them? They reach out to you? Or is there already an established relationship that's being had?
Initially, when the Black Justice Society was formed, we did a lot of networking, or I did a lot of networking to reach out to different people who already had a stronghold in their communities, who are already doing things. There's organizations that's been doing, especially in Dallas, we're in Texas, and this is a 2A gun community. So there's already organizations here that were doing the work. So we basically contacted them. They know of our presence and they became aware of us. So when they're doing something, we basically they'll reach out to us or we'll reach out to them. So it is a community of like-minded Black people and who do network and we're aware of one another. And then we have the Best of Black 2A Awards where we raise the visibility of these different organizations so that we are all aware of each other.
Mm-hmm. Can you speak toward the awards that y'all have? Like, what made you bring that idea about? Is that a recognition of different organizations and their community works, or?
Well, actually, I had this idea about 2 years ago. And since I've been in Dallas, but prior to the Black Justice Society, I reported to 3 commanders in Dallas. And my main job was to handle business affairs, to try to monetize so that we could self-support ourselves and our endeavors, and then provide services. And so I presented these awards to my previous commanders. And then when I became the Black Justice Society, or we became the Black Justice Society, I said, it's time for us to execute on this idea. There's nothing like it. It's historic. There are a lot of brothers and sisters that are out there that are doing the work, that have been doing the work for decades and never get recognized. You only see them if something bad has happened. Some of the things that they do, you probably will never know about. And we just wanted to bring that to the forefront to provide inspiration and to provide motivation for these brothers to keep doing what they're doing, because without that recognition, without a little pat on the back, without people saying we love you, we're here for you, and we support you, and thank you so much for protecting the queens, protecting our families, teaching us everything. I think it's something that is very important for our community. There's no other awards like it. So I think that we have the potential to grow and be bigger and do a lot of things for the community.
Okay.
I hate saying the word community. A lot of things for the Black nation.
Right. When it comes down to a lot of the things that you have done, can you speak to some of the efforts that you have been a part of during the show? Because I know some things you can speak on and some things you can't, and I want to make sure that some of the efforts that you can speak on to show the presence of the Black Justice Society, or some of the things that you were a part of and how they came about.
Some of the things that we were a part of and how they came about. So when we first started Black Justice Society like a year ago, we were used to doing national formation. So we're based in Texas. People were coming from all over the country to descend on this one area, to go to Louisville for Breonna Taylor, right? And then to Lafayette. So we were just traveling all over the country. And so when the Black Justice Society started, we're like, we're going to do something local. So even when I was under different command and different organization, I was always looking around for different things for us to do on a local level. And I found a brother down in Killeen who was already doing this stuff, the Elmer Geronimo Pratt Gun Club, and he was doing these unity walks, these community day of actions. And I would tell my commanders, we need to be a part of this. When Black Justice Society came into being, I was like, we need to get down there to Killeen. That was the first thing that we did, and meet this brother, Nick Bezel, and find out what he's doing. So that was like our first formation, our coming out in Texas. And at that time, which he's still advocating and championing for, was for no-knock warrants to be banned. And so he championed that no-knock warrants again, and he was actually successful in getting that banned in that particular city, as well as advocating for the brother who is currently still in prison regarding that without a trial, Mr. Marvin Guy. So we basically attached on to something that he was already championing and something that he was already leading. And then from there, we met, the other organizations, and we participated in their training, which we do regularly. The Black Justice Society trains twice a month, or maybe even more, in firearms and different things of that nature. And then we went up to Tulsa for the 100th centennial commemoration of the Black massacre, the massacre of Black Wall Street. That was an endeavor that was masterminded by other organizations that we attached to, and other units from all across the country came up. So those are the things that we did. We're like a self-defense unit, and we go up and we join with other. One of my comrades calls it like the Transformers, and we're like the Autobots. And when Optimus Prime calls for everybody to unite, we all go. So that's pretty much how we would attach on to the efforts of other organizations. Okay.
So is the Black Justice Society kind of like a paramilitary organization where the formations, everybody's in line, you know what I'm saying, and move on command? How did that, you know what I'm saying, how did that look?
It kind of does look like that. You can actually see pictures of us in formation. There's pictures of us that are on the internet. If you Google, you can find pictures of us. If you look at for the Louisville formation, it's not our organization, but I participated as an individual prior to the Black Justice Society. So you can see it is characterized as a paramilitary organization. I don't call it that. We just call it self-defense unit, but some people would characterize it as that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. With that, it's like, how can individuals contact you to honestly be a part of the organization, or how can they contribute to your organization?
Well, the way that they would contact our organization is they could just send an email to blackjusticesociety@gmail.com. We look for letters of interest expressing, why they want to be a part of the Black Justice Society, what they currently know about the Black Justice Society, if they're able to carry any firearms, if they're not, just like, and basically what they have to contribute and what they're looking for out of the Black Justice Society. Right now, we're really trying to build a very, very strong organizational structure to be able to, because it costs a lot to defend yourself. When I got involved with the 2A movement, I didn't realize what an investment it is to actually join. So because you're going to need equipment, you're going to need to purchase your firearms, you're going to need to get your license, you're going to need to invest monthly in training. It's not just like a hobby. It is something that you really have to invest in. You're self-investing. So from an organizational standpoint, and when I talk about organizational structure, we want to be able to help people who do join the Black Justice Society as members to be able to offset some of those costs. Being that it's Black History Month, you look at the history of Black militias in the United States, some of them that came into existence decades and decades and maybe centuries ago. One of the reasons that they found that they're no longer in existence is because they could not finance themselves economically, because you have to pay for your own uniforms, you have to pay for your firearms, which is $1,300 for maybe a AR-15 or more, and then you have to buy ammunition and things like that. So it is definitely an investment that can be very, very off-putting for people who are already in an economically disadvantaged state.
Right. Especially like during the pandemic, were there any issues that the Black Justice Society faced with networking or going amongst different people?
We don't have any issues with anyone. The position of the Black Justice Society, as it regards to what I think that you asking is, when you say beefs, do you mean like with other organizations or with other people? Or?
No, just during the quote unquote pandemic situation, when there were a lot of things still going on, where y'all able to still network and still form in these different areas where it was needed for.
Okay, I understand better. Thank you for clarifying that. Actually, the pandemic didn't stop anything that the Black Justice Society did or anything that the 2A movement done from our organization. A lot of our formations and maneuvers and the things that we did in the community were done despite the pandemic. I believe when we went up to Louisville, we was in a pandemic. We were masked up. We were in a pandemic the whole time. The only thing where I saw that it affected us was in purchasing like ammo and equipment like that for our weapons. Like that's always a big concern, being able to access the supplies and things that we need to be able to defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My co-hosts have a question for you, High Octane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, peace. Can everybody hear me? I just clicked back in. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. First, I want to apologize for popping in and out because I'm doing a lot of behind-the-scene engineering work. So that's what happens whenever you see me come in and out. My question is this: I'm about to dig into the red tape zone. So I'm going to ask this: during the creativity or foundation of the Black Justice Society as it was coming to, what was some of the negative narratives y'all faced? For like example, maybe some backlash maybe with the NRA, the FBI, CIA? How strong of a scrutinizing process was it for y'all to go through to obtain your licensing and all, to say what they would grant what's called basically a citizenship to do what you need to do to have this justice society is what I'm asking.
Well, I have never had any opposition from any agency or anything like that in forming the Black Justice Society, or any kind. I know that there is, that we're all being watched as part of present day COINTELPRO. I know that they actively watch and like our posts and things like that on social media. But as far as having any contact specifically with the Black Justice Society, we haven't had any contact or anything like that. But we try to also conduct ourselves, knowing what we already know, try to conduct ourselves and within the realm of the law, and then knowing the different the possibilities, based on history as to, how we could be affected. That's just the Black Justice Society. I know there's other organizations who have had adverse interactions with them. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does, especially in the area of Killeen, because I used to live down there for about now almost 10 years.
Oh,
I retired
really?
from out of Fort Hood. So,
Oh, did you?
Yes, I know
Okay.
Killeen, Dallas, everywhere. Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's why I asked that's why I asked that pertinent question, because in Killeen area itself, and there's an acronym for Killeen, but I ain't gonna publicize it right now.
I want you have to let me know it.
Down.
Yeah, you have to let me know that
Okay.
off air, and so that I could relay that to the other organizations that are really have a presence there.
Right. Absolutely. I appreciate you answering my question, Queen. I'm good. Josh and Mel, you can go right back ahead. Go.
Okay. We touched the bases on the threat of every organization, Black organization, having to deal with the modern day COINTELPRO. How much of a reality is that for as the organizations that you have dealt with and the organization that you're currently leading at this moment in time?
Well, fortunately for the Black Justice Society, like I said, we haven't been affected yet. However, we have different comrades that are right now behind bars. Some of them most of them, all of them pretty much have trumped up charges. We are there for them. They have been affected greatly and deeply. And then the other thing about COINTELPRO, a lot of people talk about COINTELPRO, but what I think that what we overlook is open source intelligence. And open source intelligence is, for example, what authorities use to be able to identify those people who were at the insurrection. And open source intelligence uses citizens on social media to do reporting to governmental authorities on what you say, on what you do. So it's not necessarily like a man in a suit that's going to be, tapping into your phone or anything like that. But open source intelligence basically empowers citizens to monitor your social media, TikTok, Instagram, all these different social medias, and then report and alert certain agencies to certain things that they perceive as a threat. And that, I think, is where it's pretty much going.
Okay. Now, that was deep. With the open source
intelligence.
Because it's like, wow, I never even thought of it on that level.
Yes.
We have to always remember that it's somebody's, or they quote unquote big brothers watching. And when y'all form, are y'all worried about being looked at as a national threat or anything of that nature? Or have had any threats toward your organization or toward the organizations that you was a part of, where you had to feel like we might have to go to war at any given time?
I wouldn't say that it felt like we were going to go to war at any time, but we were definitely on alert. Our commander let us know about different threats. For example, it was put out there that there's a task force on Instagram that monitors different behavior and activity for certain organizations. No organization wants to be labeled as a Black identity extremist, which is what they were doing to some organizations, or putting organizations on a list, or designating you as a hate group because you love your people and your people have been oppressed, and now you're standing up for them and you want what was taken from you and you want what you deserved and entitled to as a matter of God-given right. You want your land, you want a Black nation, you want to be able to self-govern yourself, you want to be able to police yourself if that's what it even comes down to. You want to have access to economics, industries, you want to have access to everything for yourself. As a Black person, we deserve to have our own governance that involves nothing else. If we don't want to integrate, if we don't want to be a part of, any specific society, we shouldn't be forced to. If we want to go and have an area like in Tulsa, Black Wall Street, where it's just a Black community, like they have Chinatown, or like they have Little Italy, or anywhere, we should be able to do that without the threat of being bombed. That's what we want. We want to be a nation within a nation. We want self-governance. We want to be by ourselves. And historically, if you look at it, we were better educated when we were by ourselves. We created all these wonderful platforms. How did rap get created or hip hop get created if we weren't by ourselves in our own community, isolated? So I always say there is a silver lining in the red lining. And that goes back to so-called community policing. If we are not together in a specific geographic area, how can we police ourselves? Because you have one person who lives over here in a gated community with non-Blacks. How can you communicate? How can you defend your community or police your community when everybody has a presence everywhere?
Right. Okay, you got another question?
Yeah, speaking on what she was tapping on, I just want to ask this. Now, bearing that in mind, what you said, which is real peace, I want to ask, has there been any recent cases or older cases that you can elaborate on where y'all were called in to take a stand against racial injustice upon the Black community within another community, as far as where maybe some racial epithets or a situation that occurred that people felt like, hey, well, I need to call them to get some assistance. Has that happened down in your area or anywhere else that you know of abroad?
Well, yeah, it happens all the time. We get tagged on a lot of issues that happen within the Black community, for lack of better terms. We don't always act on it. We have certain criteria for when we're acting, when we're deployed, and there's certain behaviors that we look for from our people before we do certain things, because individually we have to take responsibility for some situations that we get ourselves into when it comes to dealing with non-Blacks. And so there's a real good case. We weren't called in on the case, but up in New York, and Joshua, God, you would know, this took place, I don't know, in Valley Stream, where you had this one single mother who moved to an historically white area that we already know the areas that we are not supposed to be living in or going to, and you go there and they're putting urine and feces on your wall. Now, do we go off like behind enemy lines where we are outnumbered and everything and defend this person, defend the right for this person to live among white people? I mean, that's a question that are we defending segregation, or are we defending integration, the right to live anywhere? It's a question. But to your question, yes, but I think each individual organization has a set of standards. I know at least the Black Justice Society does for when we're going to deploy or what we're going to do.
Okay. Last thing, within your organization, I got one more last one, John. I'm good. Within your organization, do y'all have people in strategic places? Do you have lawyers, doctors, nurses, people who can render aid at a moment's call? That's also part of your organization.
Well, that's one thing that we're working on. So within the Black Justice Society, and one thing that our Best of Black Awards does have, or did, was we're trying to build a network of known attorneys. There's only 5% of Black attorneys in the entire country. And of those 5%, we're not sure how many are really sensitive to the issues of the two-way movement. So we're trying to identify that, and also criminal defense attorneys who are sensitive to us. And we do have medics that are available to us when we go out to different formations. When we go in our unit, we're working on bringing in all of those different professionals and expertise. But when we go out there, we are supposed to know how to be our own first responder, how to be able to give our self-aid, and then also to be able to help a comrade. That's just the basics, but then you have your certified medics and people of that nature. So we're always on the lookout for those type of people to join our organization or to be present with us when we're at formation. Sometimes we'll have people who are busy who will just show up at the formation, but they might not necessarily participate, in the activity of our organization, throughout. So they'll just lend their services for a particular event or a cause, if that makes sense.
Well, growing up in Long Island, a lot of our areas were segregated. Growing up in Roosevelt, it was all Black. We lived in an all Black town, all Black community. Hempstead was more diverse. Freeport was more diverse, but Roosevelt itself was predominantly Black. If I remember, I only remember like 5 Hispanics at our high school at that time. And there were certain areas where subconsciously we knew where not to be at a certain time, not to say it was a sundown town or anything like that, but we didn't put ourselves in a situation whereas we knew we was going to get jumped on or whatever the case may be, because we already know that the devil, they never approach you one-on-one. They always come with numbers, and they always try to outnumber you to try to hurt you. So with your organization, do you mostly teach segregation or integration when it comes down to the Black community? And when you're dealing with the community policing, if an individual wants to move in a diverse neighborhood and something of that nature happens, how do you respond to that?
Well, that's a very good question. I personally, there's several different viewpoints, but if you're going to be rolling out or rocking with the Black Justice Society, I personally believe in separation. Mm-hmm. Black nationalism and separation. We cannot be effective when everybody's here, there, and everywhere. You talked about Roosevelt. In that community, it was like 99.9% Black. Mm-hmm. That is, to me, and it was 1 square mile. That, mm-hmm, to me is a great defensible community, because you have so much of a concentration of us living there that we probably could effectively police ourselves in that area. Mm-hmm. So if we're everywhere, it's like, how we're outgunned, we're outnumbered, and different areas have different laws. So we're always trying to operate in a lawful way. But when you go into certain communities and you're there and situations happen, we may not have enough active people in the two-way movement to be able to address, different scenarios. You know what I'm saying? So it's a numbers thing. It's a strategy thing, I think. But me personally and our organization, we do believe in our right to live amongst ourselves.
Okay. Good. Reason why I'm asking is because we do know the history of Tulsa. We do know the history of what happened in Philadelphia in the 80s. We do know the history of Baltimore and different areas that were predominantly Black, and how they came in and destroyed. So now that they can come in and gentrify them and move us out. with the Black Justice Society, there's so many elements that are going on around the community. How do you pick which one do you align yourself with? Because there's so many issues. How do you prioritize which issue that you want to deal with right now?
Right now, the Black Justice Society, we're evolving. We're a brand new organization. We've been in existence for nearly a year, and there are so many areas to which that we could respond. My thing is, as the founder, is I personally and the organization, we want to affect change on a systemic way. Mm-hmm. Our focus really, that we haven't implemented yet, but is really on Black nation building. Mm-hmm. And sometimes in order to do that, it's very hard to do that when you have 1 foot in the present, 1 foot in the future, and a third foot in the past. You know what I'm saying? There are plenty of organizations that if something comes up and there's this happens here, they go there to that particular organization, like that particular instance, like Ahmaud Arbery. There's lots of organizations that respond to those things. Mm-hmm. But our focus is on right now on economics, building an organizational structure, and looking to the future of nation building. And then making systemic change. I want 400 Black men released from prison on marijuana charges. I want big changes like that. I don't want to just chase one off and this here like this. How do you determine if Josh Jamal Allah goes to prison on some false charges? How do we determine if we're going to go all in for Josh Jamal Allah or we're going to go in for King Waz Allah, because our resources are limited as Black people? We have all these particular cases and so many brothers have been affected. How do you determine that? So one thing that I have been thinking about and our organization has been thinking about is how to make long-standing systemic changes. And that's what we want, because we want our people to go to the Black nation. So while there's tons of organizations who do that and they'll go here and they'll go there, and that's fine, and we support them, and where we can, we'll go. But we're formulating and we're organizing so that we can make long-standing systemic changes and go to our Black nation.
Okay. Now, our audience don't know that your father was a martial artist.
Yes.
And he taught you martial arts.
Yes.
When is martial arts a part of your organization today?
Actually, it is not. I have not yet incorporated the martial arts that I know. So my father, Grandmaster Roy Richmond, he had a dojo in Virginia and West Virginia, and he taught me Taekwondo, he taught me Jiu-Jitsu, he taught me everything he knew. Now, he taught me a lot, but that's not to say that when we were in the Veld, we weren't doing martial arts too. We had great martial artists in the Veld doing Kasujin, doing ninjutsu. So I spar with a lot of brothers, my cousins. I have marks from the scars because they used to practice on us and everything. So I do know multiple disciplines of martial arts, but I haven't incorporate them yet into the Black Justice Society training program. But there are plans to do that, but there are plans to do that. So that is forthcoming, and that is very important. We do close quarter combat training with our firearms, and that's the extent that we are doing any hand-to-hand combat now, but we will definitely be incorporating that.
Okay. Now, with the firearms and self-defense, how much is is it needed for the black nation or Black people in this nation to learn some form of self-defense or to learn how to shoot a firearm and going forward?
You know what? At first, when I first came to Texas, I didn't think it was that important. But over the 2 years that I've been here, It is extremely important because when you go to other parts of the country, there are other people that are lawfully armed and you're not lawfully armed. It is extremely important for Black people to get armed. And if you're in a state where you can't get armed, like New York or California, or different parts of New York or California, did you know that you can also go to different states? You can come to Texas and get a permit. And take your firearms training and get out of the state. There are people right now that live in New York that actively train. So upstate New York and even people that are in downstate New York. So for us Black people, it is also a mindset to get past because a lot of us do not believe in firearms. I didn't. Coming here, even though are from New York, there is gun violence in New York. So that, and coupled with a lot of things, it's like, oh, I don't think so. I'm just going to go to, I'll go to prison anyway. Or it's a great big mindset to overcome to be able to start to get familiar with firearms. So that's the first thing that I think a lot of our people need to conquer.
Okay. Because like you said, in New York, there's at one point you couldn't get a gun permit. I think now the laws you can, but I think you have to go get it out of Connecticut. I'm not too sure on that. But with the things and the climate of the country today, how imperative is like the self-defense, like protecting yourself, and because we saw the uprising that happened in Washington, D.C., and we see what happened to Aubrey. We see what happened to Trayvon Martin, and we see what happens around this country. So I want you to explain to people how important it is to have self-defense or to learn some form of self-defense.
I think it's very important for people to learn some form of self-defense. I mean, we learned it growing up in the Veldt. I mean, if you grew up in a Black community, you're going to be fighting. Not necessary, but you're going to be tested. You're going to fight. You're going to learn. I wouldn't say it's a battleground, but I would say it's like a training ground. So you're going to learn certain things about situational awareness, how to be aware of your surroundings, how to act, how to present yourself in a way that you're not an easy target. Like if somebody approaches you and steps to you and you're going to look at them, use your voice. Like a lot of people in the firearms, from my observation in the firearm community and the 2A Black community, the first thing that they want to do is like use your firearm. But there's a lot of things that I think that could be reconcile with a little bit of street talk, like strong talk. You know what I'm saying? Before you actually have to discharge your firearm, especially when it comes to our people, because the last thing that I want to do is have to discharge my firearm for one of us when I could have talked to them. But there's other situations that that might not apply. But I think it's very, very important to me as a Black woman, with the statistics showing how we're going to be single for some time. You have to be able to protect yourself, traveling anywhere and everywhere, have some form of protection. Regardless, I mean, you have to. Pepper spray, tasers, anything. I think in New York, you can carry a knife up to 4 inches. You need to be able to use it. You need to be able to navigate and get through certain situations and be able to defend yourself. Even from just like being attacked by a dog or something like that, you're responsible for yourself. And how much of a victim do you want to be? Do you want to go out fighting, or do you want to go out like, I want to go out fighting?
I understand.
First, I'm going to give you crazy Black woman. Okay, I'm going to give you crazy Black woman. You're going to get that first.
Kay has another question for you, High Octane. Kay, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, brother.
I was like, what?
Right.
Yeah, listen, I got so caught up in the conversation. I'm like, when y'all turn it on to me, I ain't even think I was still muted, so I'm just running.
I was
all
looking
right.
at
So
okay.
first part deals with your recruitment process for those who may want to become members. Now, understanding it says Black Justice Society. My question deals with nationalities. We looking at all Black people, and when we say all Black people, how are we considering? Because we know we are a mixed breed when it comes to certain sanctions. So I'm saying, do y'all look at Latinos, the Hispanics, our brown ancestors, and well, do they want to join? Is that a problem, or are y'all allowing Caucasians in the organization? You know, these things is what I want to know on that first part, and then the second part is, I say, recruit education wise. The strongest of education, as far as them taking classes to get a better knowledge of what they need to know, is that a part of curriculum that y'all are instilling in your programs as you go forward and growing into it, becoming a more powerful society?
That is, as far as developing curriculum, that's something that's coming down the line. The one thing that we are focused on is the unification of just our melanated people. In the Black Justice Society, it's just that if you identify with being Black, I know people, I consider myself to be indigenous to North America, to this land. I'm not going to say I don't have any African ancestry, but it has not been proven. All of my ancestry points to indigenous Black people of this land. We do have people identify as Hebrew Israelites. We do have people that identify in different areas that are members of the Black Justice Society. The only prerequisite that we have is that you identify as Black and that you are Black. So as far as other nationalities, there's other things that people of Hispanic descent, for lack of a better term, they have other organizations for them. So, but ours is just for people who you kind of more than identify with being Black, not just by melanin, but your psychological being has to be Black. You are foundational Black American, and you identify with all the aspects of being Black in this country since its inception and before. So that's what it is. We're united on that front. So this is for us, in other words.
Right.
This is for us, 100%.
Gotcha.
We don't
Well-
got time for none of that other stuff.
Well, High Octane, we got a question that comes from one of the audience, Born Professor. You know, he grew up with us out there in the belt. He want to know, what are the steps one could take if they want to police their own community?
Get a group of people together. Find out where you live, find out where find out if you're going to do it armed and unarmed, right? Because remember, when we were in New York, we had community policing. It wasn't we had the Guardian Angels. That's the only one that I know of. Do you know of any?
Well, we had the neighborhood watch with Mr. Northern. We had and he was on it. Mr. Northern was on it. He had video cameras on every block in Roosevelt. So anything went on, he was able to ensure that. And then also too, he was a part of the community board. So that's all I know for us back home. But for us, even with me, I would want to know, how do I involve myself with community policing and things of that nature? And would there be a collaboration effort with the local police, mayor, and other political personnel?
We don't particularly collaborate with the local police, the mayor, or other local political personnel. When we go, we just did a march with another organization out here. Now, I wouldn't say it's a march. We did community policing. Some of that footage is on the Black Justice Society Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook pages. We went out with that organization. No police were contacted. We just went out there with our weapons. Now, when we walk out there, they get reports that there are these Black people out there dressed in all Black that have guns, and then the law enforcement will ride around and be like, hey, you know, we're what they actually said to us is that we believe in their two-way rights, but we got to respond to this report, carry on. And we just keep on carrying, we just go about our way. But we don't, our laws dictate here in Texas, we don't have to inform anybody to walk down the street with our in our gear.
So how can an individual become a part of the two-way society?
Well, depending on where you live, you would need to know what the laws are of that state, right? And find out about how you would go about lawfully carrying a firearm. And then follow the steps to do that, get your license, or in some states it is a permitless carry like there is here now in Texas, where you don't need a license, but you can't be a felon. There's other certain criteria that you can't operate a firearm, but for the most part, if you don't have a felony or you don't have any other restriction around being guns, you could just carry. So you just want to know the laws in your state, get some like-minded people together. 5 is usually like a minimum. And then just go from there. You can also contact an organization that's already operating in your city. There's a lot of established gun clubs that are in different cities already. So you might want to find out which one. We could definitely make recommendations to you. You could also start a chapter of the Black Justice Society in your city if you want to do that too. But sometimes you could also come to a formation. We're going to be going up. We have a formation coming up in Juneteenth. I think that's going to be in Mississippi. If you want to get down, you could go. You could definitely meet us out there too. So that's exactly what I did. I was like, I got to get to Louisville. I don't know how I'm going to get there on a dollar and a dream, but I'm going to get there. And and I went up there to Louisville, rode in a car full of Black strangers that became my Black family. And we went up there and to Louisville, and it was just magic. This energy you get with all these brothers who are so intent on protecting our Black queens, our Black family, and just our Black nation in general. It is a energy that is unparalleled and unmatched. And I recommend that anyone who is interested in seeing what it's about, come out to one of the formations or maneuvers that the Black two-way community has. I think the next one is going to be on Juneteenth. So that's something to look forward to.
Definitely. Make sure you keep us abreast of the one that's happening in Juneteenth, because you know that's the origins of where my family comes from. My mother and father originally from Mississippi. So
really,
I have a lot of things invested when it comes down to civil rights, civil liberties that are going on in Mississippi. Currently, I have a cousin of mine, a little cousin of mine, who's going through something similar at Mississippi State because they had a shooting or a situation, and he's starting to stand up to the university and want them to make a change. So right now, there's a lot of things that are going on there, and I'm in support of what his efforts. Look, Ken he's a firecracker. He's growing up to be a lawyer. So right now he's putting everything in the law and he's fighting them with the law. And Born Professor said to thank you. You know what I'm saying? High Octane. And it's like I said, it's definitely been a beautiful show. It's been really informative. I'm starting to hate the fact that these shows are only like an hour long, because there's so much more information that I know that I want, and I know Kay got more questions he want to ask, because the more and more we get involved into community policing and self-defense in this climate of time in this country, is definitely needed. And organizations like Black Justice Society is definitely needed. We are needed to come together to defend ourselves, defend our families, defend, you know what I'm saying, our women and children, because we have to ensure that our future, you know what I'm saying, of the family is going to be here. And that's one thing that I do respect about growing up in a all Black town, all Black area. We had Roosevelt Pride, and we were all family. Family knew everybody. So even if we did get into a situation where we bumped heads or we scrapped or whatever, when we left the town, nobody else could touch you. We were together. I don't care if we didn't like each other in Roosevelt, whatever. But if we went to Freeport, they wanted to do something in Freeport, or we went to Merritt and we see it just wasn't going to happen. We were one
Right.
family, and I think that if we can get back to that mindset
Yes.
in our community, then we'll be able to be successful in all our undertakings. If we can look at each other as family, brothers and sisters, then we'll be able to maintain ourselves and put ourselves in a situation where we can go forward and our future will be as bright as the sun. So, and I just want to thank you, what I'm saying, for this opportunity, and also to give you an opportunity to tell the people how they can contact the Black Justice Society, how can they be a part of some of your formations, how can they get involved with 2A in your award ceremony, because you have a lot of things going on. And also, too, I want to know, did you stop doing the plays? Did you stop writing the books? Because I know you were doing the plays and the cultural plays and things of that nature, So also, I want you to speak on that a little bit, because we got like 4 minutes left.
Do I have time?
We got like 4 minutes left.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just
Yeah.
want to say that I didn't stop. A lot of people out here in Texas don't know the full breadth of what I do and what I have done, like in film, and acting and writing, and I'm getting back to that. Also, a lot of things that the Black Justice Society does is not formation oriented. A lot of things that we do in the background in service to our brothers and sisters that are incarcerated, a lot of things that I do, people don't know. A lot of things that we do are just very secret and of that nature. But that's all. I'm getting back into it. It's all going to be integrated into what we're doing for the Black nation. I'm looking at things like that, and I'm always willing to collaborate because you are creative too. And I wanted to talk to you about that, about some of collaborating on some of the work that you do, because I know you are a prolific writer as well. So the Black Justice Society has a lot of things that we want to do. I want to incorporate that. I want to write a book on Black revolutionary love, things like that, why we don't need to be talking about what people are bringing to the table, why men should be the providers and women should stay at home. It's for nation building, not for, the come up. So there's a lot of different things I want to write about and bring to the screen and bring to life. So thank you for allowing me to be in the show. Peace to the nation of gods and earths and the 5%ers. I love you guys so much, and thanks for your support. Check out the Best of Black of 2A.com and our war show, which is going to be December 2nd through 4th in Dallas, Texas. We're going to do a whole range day and a firearms fest. So thank you again for allowing me to be on this amazing platform. Peace to you, K-Wise Allah and Josh Shamel Allah.
Appreciate you.
Yes.
Just stay on for a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit behind the scenes.
Okay.
Once the show is over.
Yes.
And K-Wise, it's always been a beautiful show. The show just is be so impactful, man. And then the time just runs away.
It did. I want to talk some more.
Well, we can definitely reschedule, and get you on for a part 2, and we would love to have you, and understand that Real 360 is a home for Black Justice Society. If you have anything that you want to come on and discuss, or you want to put out there for our people, the door is always open and you're always welcome. All right. And it's always Belt Love over here. You know how we do.
Yes, Belt Love.
Exit 21 forever.
Exit 21, okay.
But Kay, at this moment, in your hands, my brother.
All right. Peace and blessings, everybody. Listen, it's been a dynamic show. I'd like to thank our illustrious guests, High Octane, for coming aboard and shedding her light and wisdom at this time, like we always do. In the beginning as well as in the ending, we will give you your flowers while you yet live. So, sister, thank you for coming aboard. And you are, again, our home is now your home, and the Black Justice Society and the 2A. So, like he said, like Joshua said, if there's anything that we can do for you at any given point in time, please don't hesitate to holler at us. You got our emails, you got our number down there. We just want to, again, give information to our communities about our community doing things to bring about unity as well as prosperity. Because if we don't unite, then the fight is worthless. You understand? The goals that we want to obtain is useless if we don't unify and come together as one for the true common cause, which is to uplift our nation. And so, with that being said, it's almost 1 minute. It's 1 minute down on the clock. So I'm going to ease everybody off. But again, stand by for the after work show where we're going to talk a little bit, laugh it up, and chop it up. And again, to our listeners, if you're not paying attention, I definitely want to get this off. We have now streaming more than just on my platform, which is the KYZallah@gmail.com. You are also watching us from our very own Real to Real 360 at gmail.com. So any information you want to get to us directly, you can hit us up on our web, and we'll be more than happy to get you on and discuss anything. Nothing is off the table as long as it's very respectful and tasteful. You know, we're not out here to promote negativity. We build to destroy that, and we bring about a positivity, because that's what this show is all about. That's the reason why it's Real +2, to be real, so it's out there in the community. What we show and give to you is the truth and absolute to the best of our set abilities. And with that being said, I'll be the God, DJ K Wise, and we about to rise up out of here and let the music play. People, we love you. We salute you all. Peace in the name of Allah. We be out.